Hey, we're Blenderstyle. On this episode, we're discussing Soulfly, their debut album, Soulfly. This album was released in 1998 on Roadrunner Records. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, gentlemen. And Sepultura
Cheers.
has been irrelevant ever since.
So I got into this album probably around 98 or 99 when it came out. It was heavy in our rain rotation when Russ and Chris and I would drive around Taft listening to just all instrumental music in the rain.
Really?
Yeah. So we put...
This was before everyone had the internet in their hand.
Yeah, so we had Soulfly, the instrumental track on here on our rain mix, and anytime it rained in Taft or lightning storm, we had a mix of like a CD that we burned because compact disc were all the rage back then. Right. And Russ had one in his car.
And you had a mix for everything, right?
Oh, dude, we had a mix, yeah.
So you had a rain mix.
We had a rain mix, and we would drive up to 25 Hill and park when the lightning was going. And just
do you remember other songs on this rain mix?
There was a couple. There was a Crystal Method song. There might have been a couple. There might have been
all instrumental, right?
Yeah, they were all instrumental. There was the White Zombie. Well, actually, I take that back because White Zombie, the last song,
Blood, Milk, and Sky.
Yeah, Blood, Milk, and Sky was on it. It was all mellow songs, pretty much.
No, it's not instrumental, but
yeah,
it's
so
close.
it wasn't all instrumental. But so we kind of got into it, and then also just being a fan of Sepultura, the early Sepultura. Didn't really get into Roots, but then all the BS happened with Dana, Max's.
You didn't like Roots when it came
stepson.
out? I thought you did.
I liked Roots, but it wasn't like my vibe at the time. I think I was more intrigued by the fact that it was such a weird drumming style and stuff on it.
Yeah, the percussion,
which was really cool. And so I just this had kind of like a sacred place in my heart. I wanted to see what you guys thought about it.
So my heart was crushed when Max left
Exactly.
Sepultura. I thought Roots was good. I liked everything. I like all Sepultura, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
When Max was in the band. And it left, and I just kind of lost interest. And then Soulfly came out, and it was like, it sounds just like Roots, kind of. Less guitar. And I was like, not right now. Yeah. I'll come back to this. So this is like really my first time.
Really digging
What's funny
into
is like he says like, "Oh, Soulfly was me trying to not sound like Sepultura Roots," and it's like it sounds exactly like Sepultura
sounds
Roots.
Exactly like Sepultura Roots. So I avoided this. Not avoided. I just didn't get into it. I listened to Soulfly's last album, Totem, released 2022, I believe.
Okay. Yep,
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
we were talking about it before the show that it's a good album.
Yeah, I would say the last 3 Soulfly records have been really good, in my opinion.
Are you familiar with this first one too?
Yeah, for sure. Probably because of the guests on this record, actually. Like Fred Durst is on it. So I'm a little younger, but like I was like into Limp Bizkit, and like this also had this also had like not a heavy, but a new metal influence on it. Not like a heavy, it's not like ripping off new metal, and there's not new metal all over this, but there are definitely new metal parts in it.
I think it's like all new metal.
I've heard people say this, and I would disagree, but
there's like there's like the instrumental stuff, like this Soulfly, and like this whole second half of the album gets kind of weird. And it's not new metal, but like Eye for an Eye. Is that new metal or is that groove metal? I guess it's groove metal.
I would say sometimes also when it's like new metal, it's kind of him like trying. It's his vocals, actually, I think. It's not necessarily even the music. I feel like sometimes he's like, even like, it's like, oh, that sounds like Jonathan Davis, or that sounds like, you know what I mean?
Or does Jonathan Davis sound like Max Cavalera?
Well, Korn is definitely highly influenced by Sepultura. And like Max has a vibe, right? He's got a style and everything, but.
It's consistent in all of his projects.
Yeah, for sure.
Cavalera Conspiracy, it's like Max Cavalera puts a stamp on the bands he's in. It's very obvious.
Very distinctive. So there's I think I kind of know what you're talking about. Like So I read an interview where Max had said, like, after the falling out with Sepultura and him leaving, that he wanted to create something as far from Sepultura as he could put himself. But I don't necessarily think he meant just Roots. I think he meant like Sepultura as a whole and up until that point. Because I think I read somewhere that there was actually a couple songs on here
where riffs
there
were
were riffs from the Roots album or whatever. But,
well, the song "Remains Insane" is like clearly a throwback.
Oh, it is. But I feel like
also a killer track though, dude.
Yeah, I feel like his
very surreal kind of.
I feel like his separation from Sepultura was he wanted to get away from what Sepultura was known for, and at that time, Roots had come out like 2 years or 3 years before this, and yeah, about 2 or 3 years before this, and then before that, Sepultura was all about like thrash punk metal, and I think that's what he wanted to separate himself from. I think this is a progression of where Sepultura was going at the time, because I stopped following Sepultura after Max left the band, so I don't know what they did after that, but from what I remember just hearing bits and pieces, they kind of went back to that more heavy like black metal.
It's like groove metal.
Yeah, like groove metal. They didn't stick with the tribal kind of thing going on anymore after that.
They still like, I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention.
So I'm not sure.
And I think he kind of achieved that with this, because this definitely sounds like, it sounds very similar to the stuff on Roots.
It does.
But there's like a separation. He sounds more, it's weird to say this, but he sounds like happier and more focused in this band.
Yeah, and then just the fact that there's like Nathan said, there's so many guest musicians on here. I mean, you got Dino and Burton, Fred Durst, DJ Lethal, Los Hooligans, Chino Moreno.
All good tracks that they're on too.
Benji Webb. I mean, Christian Old Wolvers. Like all kinds of shit coming in on this.
So all of Fear Factory, basically.
Pretty much all of Fear Factory. But also the fact that like all this support for Max, like all these musicians coming in and offering to guest on these.
Well, a lot of these guys were Sepultura fans.
Oh, for sure.
And Sepultura is one of those bands that like kind of was like the gateway to a lot of people into thrash and death metal.
And for the time, I don't think
there was, to this day, if like young
especially
kid gets
in
on the
Brazil
internet,
and South America,
Well, but that's the thing. I think at the time there wasn't like this huge thing in the metal scene. Like you always heard like guest musicians come in on like pop rock and things like that. But for a metal band to have like guest musicians from the genre come in and do a song with them was kind of like the passing of the torch, and it kind of made it okay for a Sepultura fan to listen to Max, like people who might have been jaded by that whole split and trying to pick sides or whatever. And maybe that was it. Like at the time I was like, oh well, all my favorite musicians are guesting on this. That's got to mean it's the one to follow.
Smart, dude. Do you think that was like Roadrunner kind of making shit happen? It had to be, right?
It could have been, yeah, because Roadrunner supported the artist back
Fear
then.
Factory was on Roadrunner.
Yeah, a lot of these bands were.
When you pick this, I was like going into it like thinking like, oh my God, like I'm going to rate this pretty low, you know? And going back to it, first initial couple listens, I was like, man, this is hard. It's not cohesive. The only thing cohesive is the drum parts. I'm sure when they recorded it, it smelled like smelly feet and marijuana. Like, you know, just all this shit going through my head. And I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I listened to it. And this is such a massive project.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different instruments. There's so many different percussion things. And all in between all that, you also have some just heavy, groovy ass shit that is just primal as fuck. Like, it's like literally like also a turnoff to me was the lyrics, you know? The lyrics are fucking horrible in some parts, but you get little snippets of like, damn, man, that's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep. And I'm kind of like into the tribal thing. I'm into the whole like repping where you're from. And it took me a minute to really get into it, but man, this record is...
It took me a while to get into it too.
It's pretty damn good. So, it's pretty memorable, and like, who else took on a project this big like at that
especially
time?
for a metal band to take on a project with that
That's
much
true.
composition going into it. I mean that's
it's over an hour long.
well, but also
It's
like
sloppy.
Nathan said,
Don't get me wrong. It's there's a lot of shit going on, but
Oh,
there's
yeah.
sloppiness that goes with it. But that's what makes it. That's what makes it charming.
yeah, well, and I think kind of like you said, there's like this incohesiveness about it, but at the same time, it works as a full album. And coming into this, like I kind of lost my interest or my love for Soulfly after I think it was their third album. The first two were great. The
You didn't
third
like
one,
jump the fuck up?
and that's the thing. Like once that came out, I was just like, this isn't the same band. It was like this stale shell of a band.
That's my beef with it, dude.
And I've kind of went back and listened to like tracks here and there, and I think it was Omen had a couple good tracks on it, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get back into Soulfly, and I never did. And then you guys have both said that their newest one was really good. And I haven't listened to it, but when I picked this, I was kind of like, do I really want to go down this rabbit hole again and like really get into this? And because I haven't listened to this in probably 10 years, maybe 15 years. It's been a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was amazed at how good this is, like compared to what I remember it being.
What's cool about it is it's kind of like a tattoo, right? People say like, oh, you get a tattoo, you're gonna regret that later. Yeah, maybe. But for the majority of my life, I liked it.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like that's what this is. And that's what maybe the first few Soulfly records are. I feel like Soulfly is Max, and wherever Max is going in the stages of his life, that's what Soulfly is going to be. It's a vessel that he can like express himself.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Soulfly's discography is pretty big
and it's
and
all
also
over the place.
pretty goddamn diverse.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show that like at this point, he put a lot into this.
Oh yeah, there was a lot of healing.
I didn't really get it.
That.
Well, just work of like recording it and getting everybody. Imagine it's like a ska band, dude. I guarantee you, back in the day, those ska bands, not everyone showed up.
No,
you got 12 people in your band.
Yeah, good luck practicing.
Not everybody's showing up, right?
Yeah,
it's a difficult thing to do, and Max had the time and the drive to wrangle all these people together and put this massive record together. But it's got a lot of fat.
Well, it does.
It's got a lot of fat.
But I think, like kind of what you said, if you look at it like as a perspective of Soulfly is Max's vessel for expression, it makes perfect sense because every album is completely different. And it all reflects what he's going through at the time.
Also, this is like a spiritual album, right?
Oh, for sure.
And like, I'm pretty sure his spirituality, he's eating some shrooms. And that shit lasts some hours. So that's probably why this is just way too long.
It's a shroom trip, dude. It's one of the longest albums we've done, and it's appropriately long.
Yeah.
Like I always complain about shit being too long. This isn't too long. This is like the right amount. It's long, but it's like I feel like it makes sense for how long it is for some reason.
I will say that like when we were kids listening to this album, the last song, Karmageddon, I never knew there was a hidden track on this the whole time because after that we just take it out and throw the next disc in. And so when we picked it and I had it on the mix and it was going through, that song came out. I was like, is this like some extra like bonus edition thing that I got? And that bugged me. I didn't like the hidden track or the bonus track. What is it?
Casey doesn't like hidden tracks, bro.
Yeah. No, I like hidden tracks, but I just, because I never knew about
Offspring Smash is one of the best hidden tracks.
It is.
Scared the shit out of us.
Yes, it did.
It definitely was scary when he would say motherfucking. His vocal delivery was so aggressive. And that's like my major beef with this album is it's like, it feels like Max is more comfortable, but I like it when it sounded less comfortable.
Okay.
You know what I mean? More aggressive, more gritty. I just prefer Sepultura over this. This kind of like takes out some of the stuff I like about Sepultura. It's still good though.
Now you might want to specify Max Sepultura.
Yeah, when I say Sepultura, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
When I say I'm a Sepultura fan, I'm talking Roots and everything before that. I don't. No offense to the new members in the band. I think it's all good. I've seen that they've done like Quattro or whatever, where they have all these like different people come and do stuff during COVID. That was pretty dope. This should change the name. Just I feel
Yeah.
strongly about that for some reason. Other bands I don't give a shit. Like Cannibal Corpse changed vocals. I'm like, all right.
That'd be like if Pantera reformed without the Abbott brothers.
Well,
Like,
I think Simple.
You bought your tickets, right?
yeah, for sure.
So anyway, I give it a 3.9 out of 5. It's a good album, dude. It's worth your time. It took me a while to get into it. I don't love it. Like, it's not something I'm going to go back to a lot. There's definitely tracks in here I'll take away. It's really good, though. I give it 3.9.
Do you love it more than New Sepultura?
Oh, yeah.
That's all. It was meant to
Soulfly is
happen.
better than New Sepultura. I won't even listen to New
Yeah,
Sepultura.
me either.
That first album, Against, I think I tried one point, and it's bad.
You're like,
I
I'm
just did
against
not.
this.
It sounded like Machine Head, and I don't like Machine Head.
Okay.
Nathan, Soulfly, self-titled.
I would give this a 4.0. I think that this is a project that Max took on that, like, he probably at some points felt like he couldn't even, execute. And I feel like he did a pretty good job. He didn't hit it on the bullseye, but he did a pretty good job. And that album cover is sick.
Album is pretty sick.
Yeah, it's great.
Fucking sick.
I think it kind of describes his hand. He's free. He sounds
Dude.
free and comfortable on this.
When he talks about spirituality and his beliefs and stuff, I believe him. He's not a politician.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about Max, and that's what I love about Max now. He's still into the underground music. He still reps that shit.
Oh yeah.
He's a true artist. So I give this a 4.0.
Nice, respectable. Casey, your picks, Soulfly.
I give it 4.6. I mean, I
Nice,
think this
dude.
is iconic Max Cavalera sound. I really feel like he took the sound, presented it to Sepultura. They released Roots. He left, took the sound with him, and Sepultura was lost after that. This was
He's definitely the driving point. He was the driving point of Sepultura.
for sure. And I feel like, kind of to touch on what Nathan said, this is a healing process for him through all the bullshit that he was going through, and to like really kind of throw it out there, even though he might not have like achieved that full vision of what he wanted at the time. I think the attempt is excellent, and it's an iconic album, and I think it's great. Yeah, 4.6.
Nice, dude. Good pick.
We're Blenderstyle. That was Soulfly. Give us a like, a thumbs up, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us we're idiots. We know we are, and we love to hear it.
I love to hear that I'm an idiot.
Ain't no motherfucking blender and the blowfish.